right, here with Rocky Jr. again at BoonDocker. We're swapping out some clutches on the Razor 1000, and you're making the turbo kits for these beasts, and you're running into clutching changes. A lot more power, longevity of parts, maybe belts. Yeah. So what is it you've come up with? I know this is the stock stuff off the Razor.
Yeah, this is the stock stuff, so we can kind of do a comparison. They're using a RIPP-TIED style secondary, and then just a regular Polaris, primary that comes stock on the machine. And that it's really similar to what you'd find on a snowmobile. It's just downsized a little bit. There's not as much, demand on the traction-wise on a UTV as there is on a snowmobile. And there's not as much horsepower, and so this is all just kind of scaled down.
Right.
And so coming from where we're at with the snowmobile background, we're pretty well connected in the industry and know how the snowmobile parts work really well, and so we adapted snowmobile parts to this. They're just bigger, more robust. So.
Were you running into issues?
Yeah, belt issues on them.
Yeah.
The belts are just a little bit too weak, even in stock form. The Razor 4 is a little bit too big for the belt that is on it. There were some issues early on. I think Polaris addressed a lot of that. They did some clutching changes early on and helped, and they've added some different ventilation that's helped. But the parts are maybe just a little bit not quite robust enough, I guess.
Okay, so then let's see what it is that you're working with. Well, we can see the distinct differences already, right?
Yeah, you can check out this belt. And this is really the heart of it. You can see the difference in that belt. This is a factory belt. You can even see that it's an Arctic Cap belt. So this is something that's readily available, but you get to see the difference in how thick it is. Almost a 1/4 inch wider belt. This is a typical standard snowmobile size.
Okay, and then you're using the Team secondary.
Yeah, so we worked with Team on this, and it was kind of interesting because we talked to Team and they said, yeah, we're building something, and then they just kind of put it seemed like kind of on the back burner, and then we built a prototype, and I called them back and said, hey, we got a functioning prototype, and then they were all about it. Turned out that nobody else was as interested as us, so we built it with Team, and we built all of them.
Well, that's their TIED.
Yep, that's their TIED. This is a full-size snowmobile TIED. Yeah. And the big thing was that this shaft. We just designed a shaft to fit it. We worked really closely with some of the engineers at Team while we were running ours. We were machining this part ourselves, and then running a stock TIED. We went to there's actually a couple different TIEDs, and we found the right one and got the right calibration, and at the end of the day, Team built them for us.
Now, what about the Helix, custom Helix?
This is a custom cut Helix. They're 2 tracks, so you can go from one to the other. This will cover anywhere from a low boost turbo to a radically high boost. I have a 12-pound pump gas 4-seater that's running on one track, and then I've got a 25-pound.
Explain what tracks are. It's basically angles on a.
Yep, it's the angle of the Helix. The steeper the angle, the faster it shifts out, so it puts you in a higher gear faster. And the shallower the angle, it keeps you in that gear longer. And you can start with one angle and then progressively shift to another. We've just been testing with this stuff. We probably have 6,000 miles on these clutches this summer, testing different Helixes and getting the right angles, and so we can put it together in a package that's going to work.
Nice. If I just had a stock Razor and I wanted to make some clutching changes, would it be?
Yeah, in fact, I've got some. I just got done talking to some guys in Pismo Beach they're just on fire about these clutches. They're putting them on NA stuff. They said their 60-foot times are drastically improved. That has a lot to do with the primary and the profile and the weights that's in the primary.
Well, let's look at that then.
Let's take a look at that, and you can kind of see what we're doing size-wise.
Oh yeah, there you go.
That's just an awesome comparison.
And it fits in the case.
It fits in the case. We do a new cover.
Oh, okay, new cover.
Yep, we have a new cover for it. So this bigger diameter, this is your driven, and so it gives you a lower gear to start out in. It still finishes at a 1-to-1, but you start out in a lower gear, and so you have just more gears in between.
So this is the stock Polaris.
Yeah, this is a stock Polaris primary, and so this one comes in It's got a spring. It'll come all calibrated and everything. A spring and a washer, but this is just a stock Polaris primary, and you can see the difference in this too. It's not as drastic as the secondary, but you can see that that's bigger. I don't know what the best way to kind of show that.
Up against. Yeah, definitely.
And that just is to get you finished in your 1-to-1, because you start out down here on the small end, and they're going to be similar down there, but you're on the big end of the secondary, and then as it shifts out, the belt finishes up here.
Is there a different sheave angle, or would that be the same?
I'm not sure if the sheath angle is different between this and this, but this is the right sheath angle for the snowmobile belt. Right. Yep. And then we run a regular. The snowmobile clutches are so popular. They've been around and evolved for so many years. There's a ton of different profiles and weights that you can use for your primary setup, springs, that are available, and so we're able to really make something that just works really good. The thing you'll notice is like the guys in Pismo were talking about their 60-foot times, and just their takeoff is so much better. But then the back shift, when you get out of it and then back in it, you're in the right gear at the right time. The great thing about having a CVT is that you're at your peak RPMs all the time. So you're right where you're making the most power. That's where you should be.
That's where you got to be. Especially in the sand or snow, anything that's raw and powerful, you got to have the back shift, right? You got to have the power when you need it right away. Right. Well, so now these are going on the Razor 1000, but these kits are obviously available separately.
Yeah, you can buy them separately. You can buy just this primary from us, the secondary. Some of the guys that are doing Z1 conversions and using Razor 1000 transmissions, this secondary fits on it, and then you can run that with the Z1 primary clutch. And
you're not getting into the really big dollar aftermarket stuff.
This stuff is really affordable. It's really affordable. I mean, this is just a little bit more money than a regular Team Tied. I think that a regular Team Tied is like $299. I think these are about 20% more than that, because they are a little bit of a custom build. But and then this is the price of them is it's not that high price that the billet clutches are, and they're not billet, and so they don't hold the heat that the billet clutches do. And it's just, I mean, how can you beat this? This is a high performance Polaris made in the USA part.
Yeah. Lots of R&D years ago that still make it a solid product. Now, so anybody can just call you up and tell you what kind of environment they're riding in, and you'll set them up. You'll send them everything they need.
Yep, we'll get you the right springs and weights, and get you in the right track on the Helix, and and we're just there to support that.
There you go. BoonDockers.com.